Righty, morning guys, welcome back to NZ Marko Kustoms. So, I kind of ended yesterday's video at that headlight stuff. I haven't got any further with the door handle, so I possibly can get a piece of brass or bronze or something from in town, but I think I'm just going to try and make it out of some steel that I've got around here. And yeah, I don't know, I just don't know whether we're going to have enough, or whether somebody can go into here to get it, get a piece of hunk. I rang my brother, because he works one of the big engineering firms in town, and they didn't have anything either, but he said one of the steel places would probably have a piece there that I probably could have got, but yeah. So I think I'll just make it out of steel. And as much as I don't want to weld a piece of bar on and then bend it, that might be just what I do, I think. Because I've got plenty of rod like this, which would be more than big enough. It's almost wide enough. It's plenty round enough. It's quite long. So I should be able to, unfortunately I'm going to need oxygen, but I don't know whether I can get it hot enough just to settle in or not, you know what I mean? Or get enough heat in it to bend it. At least get that shape. And then I'll just have to find, I might just try and find a bolt or something I can weld that to, like grind a nice point to it and weld it in and get it, burn it in nice and hot, obviously before I drill a hole in it and all that sort of stuff, and get it on there. But what I'll do is I'll get that shape made and try and get a nice ball on the end of it. So yeah, it's just a matter of working out a rough length, leaving it a bit long, and then chopping it off where it needs to be once I've got it bent and shaped. And if I have to weld a little bit of extra meat on the side of it to get a little bit extra width to get that profile, I'll do that, you know what I mean? I think that's just the simplest way around it. And then once I've got it welded on, and I've got it cut flat, we'll drill a hole through it and whatever, and then I can cut it with just a cutting disc. I should be able to successfully do that with a cutting disc, as long as I go gentle and don't have to go in too far. I should be able to pick up that square. I think if I just go gentle, it'll be fine, you know. By the time, as long as it squares in there and it's close-ish, you know, as long as it's can't turn right round. If it's slightly loose, it won't be too bad. We'll better just do up the nut fairly tight, and worst comes to worst, just put a wee bit of just low sort of Loctite or something on there, if you know what I mean. Just so it helps maybe fill that void when you put it on. I'd like to make it out of brass or bronze, but I think steel will be fine. I just want to get it made today, so I'm not screwing around trying to do it at the weekend. Because I've pretty much got everything else sorted. I think for doing the nickel or getting stuff plated, it's only really the strip down the grill, surround shell, radiator shell, and yeah. And then when I drop that off, I'll just have to ask a few questions about maybe then riveting that back on. I don't know. Worst comes to worst, we'll just get some stainless steel coach bolts that suit, and just get probably some little lock washers and maybe some nylocks, and just frickin' put the nylocks on with a bit of fucking thread lock and just do them up as tight as I fucking can, if you know what I mean. And hopefully they don't come loose. And I'll do the same with the headlights, with the brackets inside the headlights. I think I'll just get little coach bolts and get some nuts behind and just prick the thread lock them on. They'll never come off and it'll be fine. Like, nobody's going to notice. It's got some polished stainless there. You know, like I'll clean all the surfaces up and get them polished up with the end of them up with 3000 or something like that. Nobody's going to know from there. It's in that one of those spots. It's not, you're not staring at it. And the grill shell will be a little bit the same. As long as it's polished up and it's stainless, that should stay fairly bright, if you know what I mean. So it's kind of about the only way around it. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. I'll talk to those guys, see what they reckon. Because I think it'll be damn sight easier for them to work on if that bracket's not all riveted on. The top piece is not riveted on. At least they'll be able to strip that copper off and get it coppered up back nicely. You know, and I can say to them, look, I can give you the rivets, the blind rivets to rivet it back on. If you're capable of doing that, otherwise, you know, we'll just bolt it back together, if you know what I mean. And just Loctite shit out of everything. So, you know, I'll get working on this. I'll come back to you when I've got some materials and we're on their way, if you know what I mean. I've got this here roughly shaped to the right sort of profile. You know what I mean? Like it's close. I just got it through the hole in the back of the anvil and just keep bending it until it come right. I think by the time I get it shaped up, it'll be close enough that most people won't know, because it's not as though that you can sit there and hold them all together, you know, when it's on the car. So as long as it looks close, I'll build up a little bit of weld on the outside edge if I have to, just to re-profile a little bit, make it look a little bit fatter. But I think by the time I get it made, it'll be pretty bloody close. Now what I'm going to do here is I've got this piece of old, I think it's a bit of angle iron off something. See that? That's better. So it's actually got holes in it. If I put that on there, I couldn't get these holes to line up with that. So what I'm going to do is this ball fits nicely in one of those. So I'm drilling a hole down through here to line up, well, it's meant to line up with this, so I can put it like a bolt through here when I make this one. So I'll get the ball right, and then I can get that position right, and when I make that bit out of this, put it there, I can bolt it there, have the ball lined up in there, get it lined up. At least then I know it's proportionally the right length, if you know what I mean. So, you know, and I can build up the weld around here and get the gap right and all that sort of stuff. And just, I'm trying to make a half-high jig, just so it's as close as I can get it without going crazy mental, if you know what I mean. It would have been nice to make it out of one piece and just carve it all out, but it is what it is. It'll work, and at some point, if we find the right thing, we can replace it. But once it's made out of steel and it's nickel, nobody will know it's not the right thing, if you know what I mean. So I'll get drilling this hole, and I'll keep profiling and shaping, and I'll come back to you shortly. Right, so I've just got to open the hole up in that a little bit more. I just put a slightly small drill, but too small drill bit in it. But yeah, so that's going to be that piece. And obviously what I'm going to do is I'm going to, just to turn it down to, because it's a little bit tapered, so I'm going to put a bolt through it when I've opened it up a little bit, and clamp it in the drill, and I'm just going to run the grind up against it when the drill's spinning and just taper it off. So it's got that sort of profile, and obviously make it a little bit smaller. It's close to the right size at one end, if you know what I mean. So if I take a little bit off one end and then just taper it back, and then we can trim it up, or grind it down at the top or whatever once we've got it welded on. But what I want to do shortly is I just want to line, I want to put the bolt through here and the bolt through there, and just see if that face is square. I'm not 100% sure on that, to that, so then I can work out whether I need to just angle that a little bit. Not that it's probably going to matter too much, but I just would like to know whether that face there is square to that hole. At least then I know, and I can, if worst comes to worst, I can just taper a little bit, if you know what I mean. It's not going to matter much. And then I want to cut the key in it with the square, and I'll grab one of those other handles and we'll just poke in there and make sure that fits. Actually, I'll go grab the door handle now. While I'm thinking about it. So yeah, so this here is a little bit loose in here, but it's not bad, if you know what I mean. So if I can cut that in, and it's basically the same, it's the same width as the hole. So basically if I just come in there with the cutting disc, I've got a slightly fatter half worn, actually no, I'll use a brand new one, because that'll give me a nice square edge. And as long as I get it nice and parallel to the hole, I can probably mark it. What I'll do is I'll go like that, and then I'll mark out in between, and I'll get the right size hole, or the right size width, and then I can get a nice parallel marking on there. And then we can just, as long as we take it out and get rid of all the black marker, we know that we're really close, and we can just test fit the handle on there. And as long as it's in there, what are we in there, about 1/4 of an inch or a bit over, we'll be fine. So yeah, I think that's going to work perfect. So I'll get this hole opened up a little bit, then I'll put the bolt through the two, see whether that face is square to the hole on this, and then I'll cut the slot, turn it down with the angle grinder and a drill, and get that piece finished off and weld it on there. Yeah, sounds good to me. Right. Hole. Hang that there. Yeah, I thought I had the right size drill, but I just not quite open enough. So I just went one size bigger, which I think fits through, does it? Maybe it doesn't. Sweet. So I just need to make that a little bit shorter, clean the end up. Still fits in there. Perfect. Awesome. Oh. Just nick that off from the end of that disc, and we'll just need to shorten that up a little bit. Just wonder if it's worth shortening after I weld that on. So yeah, I'll clean that up and we'll get this prep to go out on there. Righty, so now just to get this clocked right, what I've done is this here will fit perfectly in here without turning. Poke that up there like that and just have it just up a little bit. If I stick that in there, alright, and I mark 90 degrees roughly close on the back side of this. Right, and then I'll do the same with this. Mark that on there. Right, so on there. So now I'll stick my bolt in here. Hold that steady. Put that on there. Slip that in that hole. And mark on here where that line lines up. So when I stick this on here and tighten it down, I know this is in the right orientation. So if I put the nut on there and grab my half-inch spinner, and just give that a wee tweak so it's nice and tight, and now that's in the right position. I'm going to try and show you that. I'll turn the camera on. So yeah, I've got that line marked on there. That's pretty close to being, well, I could probably turn it a little bit, but you know what I mean, like at least now I know when I stick, use my other bit on here when I've got it ground down, and I get that parallel and straight up and down, that there will be in the right place, if you know what I mean. So that's kind of what I'm trying to achieve. I need to obviously make that ball a little bit smaller, but I need to grind this down a little bit, grind that back a little bit more, and obviously taper this down so it's a bit more that sort of size, or even a little bit smaller. But yeah, once I take a little bit off that end, this will sit back in there a little bit because it's trying to push forward. And then it'll be close, and then I can detail it and get it 100% dead right, if you know what I mean. So I'll carry on there. I'm just going to check the time, because I haven't checked the time for a while. I've just been working, but yeah. And I've got to obviously still shave this down a little bit, but the only other thing I need to do is just check this rough height, so it's about the same. Like, it doesn't have to be dead exactly the same, as long as it's close and it looks the part. As I said, you know, if we can find the right thing a bit further down the line, we can get one nickeled and replace, just have this as a spare, if you know what I mean. Righty, so this is where I'm up to. So I've ground that down fairly well to quite a point, and I've obviously tapered it down a little bit. It probably needs a little bit more off it, but obviously needs fattened up a little bit in the centre. I'm not worried about that too much. We'll worry about that later on if we need to. So yeah, I think we're about the right height. It doesn't need to be, like I said, it doesn't need to be dead 100% true, as long as it looks roughly the same, you know, when it's sitting on the other side of the car. You can only see one door at a time when you're sort of sitting in it, if you know what I mean. Like, you know, from a distance. You know, if you're sitting to the side with a good one in the back or the front or whatever, and that's on the other side. You know, you can't, they're not close enough together to compare. So, but I think that looks about right. Could be a little bit higher, maybe just a touch higher. I was trying, I got the mass magnet sitting there just to try and hold it true while I get it, you know, tacked in place, and then we'll try and burn her in the best we can. Get it nice and we'll wind that up fairly hot, and we'll try and get a good bloody weld in there at least then, which it should hold, and then we'll just have to prof it up and just knock that top down a little bit so it's the same, roughly the same height. Yeah, I might just bring it down just to here. Like, I know it's a little low, but it's there's not much I can do about it. It probably just need to be a little bit fuller, but if it works, it works. You know, we can find the right thing and weave it down the track, or we can have another go with some bronze or brass or something. So I might just weld the bottom, and then we'll knock the top off after lunch. And then we can blend the rest of it in. I might have to build it up a little bit more and then grind it back again, but if we get the top knocked off it, at least then I can blend that weld in a bit better. Something like that, if you know what I mean. It's a bit high at the moment, but by the time I grind it down, cut it off and grind it down, it's fine. Sweet, still fits in there pretty good. Hasn't changed. Check the time, we'll do the rest after lunch, I think. Well, it's not quite lunchtime, but almost. So I'd done a little bit of work on it. I cut the end off it, just a slither, wherever that went, down there. Is that it? Just a wee slither. So basically I just sat it beside the other one and marked around it how much too high it was. Just ground it off. You know, I think we're looking pretty bloody close. You know, so a little bit more of a clean up, just fill up a few more weld spots and then really start getting it smoothed out. We'll be fine. So yeah, and the only other thing I've really got to do is just strip that radiator out of the shell. Yeah, and just a few bits and pieces like that really. And I might trying to think. I wonder if I should organise some blind rivets and just put them in a bag just in case they're happy to maybe put those blind rivets back in the grill shell with the brackets and stuff. So that will just bolt them in, you know, for all it's going to matter. But yeah. But anyway, we'll work something out, but yeah. So that's almost, you know, we're 3/4 of the way there. It's just got to clean it up now and make it look pretty. Alrighty, so there's 4 inner door handles. I've given this one a fairly good clean up. It's not dead perfect, but I think by the time they go through and clean them all up and whatever, that'll be good. I just straightened this one a little bit because it was actually bent quite a wee way up. I just heated it up gently, just with the acetylene, because that's all I've got at the moment. Just enough to obviously help soften it, and then I just straightened it out because it was sort of, the ball was, I don't know, probably half an inch off the deck, which I didn't realise. But so it's not dead straight, but it's straight enough, and hopefully it'll be fine. So that's the handles made, that one made. So I put that in the box. Weather is absolute crap outside. It's freezing its ass off. I just flicked the heater off because it's so freaking noisy. So, just trying to think what else I need to put in there. Hood ornament, radiator cap thing. Got those, which are to go in the wood trims. They're going to be nickeled and then put in them. Those are in there. Put the pins through them, clean them off. We'll just nut and bolt those other things on with, again, with some, I think if we just put some dome head bolts through the back and Loctite and nylock the nuts on the inside, I think that'll be fine. Same with these. I'll just this bracket, and the other one's away. So these are just, if we put some little dome head bolts through there, that means I can paint this up when I get these other pieces back. I can clean this up, paint it up. I've got to weld that down, and the same with the other one, and we can just nylocks and I'll Loctite them on as well, just with some medium strength, just in case the nylocks come loose. I have seen nylocks come loose on a bottom armlets inspection on a vehicle years ago, so they are good, but I have seen them come through. To be honest, in some ways, the old split pins is probably just as good, if not better, than a nylock. Nylock's just simple. But a little bit of Loctite in a spring washer, and a touch of just medium strength thread lock or whatever. They shouldn't come undone. So I think that'll do for that stuff. I'm just trying to think what else I need to do apart from strip that radiator down. I don't think there's anything else that's got to go. The only other things could be bumpers, and the other door handles, if we happen to if the ones that they machine, if we happen to get them, we might have to send them up to get nickeled as well. We were talking about that earlier. So yeah, and we've also got those brass bits to make door handles if we ever decide that we want to do that, or he wants to decide he wants to do that. Yeah, the only other thing is the bumpers, but I don't have enough. I need to work out whether we're going to fit them or not, because this vehicle didn't, well, I don't know if it had them, and like I said, I don't. I need to work out how they went on. One's a front, one's a back, I think. So yeah, need to work out whether they rich on there. They're being painted, but yeah. It's bent, so I'll have to straighten it. So they're all different. Yeah. I'll have a look at some photos and just see what went on front, what went on the back, and just see whether they can be fitted. Like anything can be fitted, but you know what I mean? But this car may have never had them. Right, I'll do that. I'll turn the heater back on. Alrighty guys, so hopefully that fucking heater's not too noisy, but it's cold, so I'm starting to strip these down. Now I'm not sure, I think these are aluminium or aluminum, so I'm going to clean one of these up just to see, and then I'll strip this one down. So that's like a little glass lens, so I've only got 2 of those, so I have to be careful, but I'll see whether that, I think it's, if it is aluminium or aluminum or whatever you want to call it, I'll just better polish it up. It won't need nickeled. I've got these here coated on the back side with the wood glue mix, so I'll let that dry off. It probably won't take long with that heater near it, and then I'll flip them over and I'll do the other side before I leave, hopefully. At least then maybe the next, I don't know, today, probably tomorrow or Monday or something, I'll start piecing these things back together, at least get the tapered tubes back on them, and then I can work out, I haven't painted the ends yet, then I can try and work out what I'm doing to hold them together, and work out exactly what I need and some lengths, and I'm going to try at some point in the next week to get some sort of bolts and nuts of some description, and a few little some thicker small steel washers or something like that, and bits and pieces, so I can just get everything spaced and set up and whatever all properly, and then get it all together and Loctite it and whatever, and then I might just brush paint the ends of the bolts, get a bit of that paint nice and warm with the brush, and I'll just brush paint all the ends of the stuff so it looks like it was painted together. I've done that plenty of times before. First I get the paint nice and sort of hot and runny, now with a small brush I've got to just go around and touch them up and nobody will know. So yeah, I'm just in the middle of, I'm just going to sit down and polish this stuff so I don't frickin' stand on my feet in one spot. See if I can get this cleaned up and see whether I think it is aluminium by the looks of it, or aluminum, and then if it is, I'll strip this one down. That'll do for the today, I think. So that's kind of where I'm at the moment. Righty, so that piece is definitely aluminium, and it's going to polish up okay. I've just sanded it back to about 400 at the moment. I'll go a little bit further than that, so it'll buff up quite nicely. And the little spring clip that was in behind it, I just gave it just a very light sandblast in the cabinet, and then just flicked it with a little bit of etch, just so it doesn't keep flash rusting. So I'd like to get all that glass out of there, so I can get that cleaned up, and then we can clean these up and get them prepped and painted. So yeah, there'll be a few other little pieces, like I've still got to make that other bracket for the bottom of that spare wheel carry, and a few little odds and ends that, that need to be done. Like these will have to be painted yet. Lots of those little pieces, just little odds and ends that will have to be done at some point, but yeah, we can get a lot of it together now, hopefully. Once we get that frickin' clutch bearing. When I was in it, the engineers the other day, the owner wasn't there, so I didn't really get much out of them apart from I was trying to find a piece of brass to make that, or brass or bronze to make that door handle, and they didn't have anything, so I just made it as steel, and I just got the Loctite, just so when I start assembling some pieces, I've got it here, and I don't have to run away and get it. So yeah, but yeah, we're getting there. So it's, you know, kind of cleaned up, semi-cleaned up. So I'll get this one apart and see if I can get this thing out of here if I can. So we can work out how that all comes out. And yeah, then we can clean this up and those up over the next whatever. In between doing this stuff, these should be almost dry now, sitting near that heater. So I'll flip them over and I'll paint the other side of them, and then I'll come back to this. I'm just puddling around with this to film while I'm waiting on that. I'm only going to undo the bolts out of that and lift it off, so that's no biggie either, if you know what I mean. Yeah, it's only Friday, so I had a couple of days to play with the stuff. Like, I'm basically ready, I think, with all that stuff. I have a good think about it to see if there's anything else that needs to be done, but I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, just a few odds and sods to finish up, and just little stuff like this and the speedo, and then just get that motor stuff sorted, get the clutch and flywheel on, which that'll happen very, very shortly. I was hoping it might have been on there before now, but it's just some of these things will take longer than you expect. So yeah, we're getting there. It will come together very, very shortly. I think we're getting closer and closer and closer every day. Like, I don't think there's much more in it, if you know what I mean. I've mainly been doing a lot of this stuff, because we need to get it away, and then just trying to get all these bits and pieces cleaned up as we're just waiting on these final thing really, so we can do the last little bits on the gearbox, get the flywheel on that, and then we can pick that up and get it ready, clean it up and whatever, and that won't take a lot to clean up. It's just we'll have to get some nuts for these head studs that are missing, and just pull the head off it and make sure everything is right in there. And I haven't turned it over for a while, so I'll do that one of these days shortly. But yeah, we poured some ATF and shit down the walls, so that should be pretty good. And it wasn't stuck, was sitting for the last few years, so. But we'll have a good turnover, and we'll just check all the valves will work and all that sort of stuff when we lift the head off it anyway. And the rest of it just need to clean up and just repaint maybe some of the black bits and just give it a freshen. Anyway, carry on. How you going, guys? So welcome back again. So I put up the last video, so I've only just been recording yesterday for this video, but I put up the last video late yesterday. John Showcar Builder put a comment up, because I've been painting this with the wood glue to help seal them up. He was saying that because he did a lot of restoration stuff for a company. And the wheelwright that they used to use to obviously make wheels and probably bows and whatever else, he'd just linseed all of them and clear coat them, which was kind of what I was going to do. But it's funny, the wheelwright here said linseed all of them and don't clear coat them, just leave it, just linseed all of them every now and again. And he said the main reason for that was, and John said they just done stuff 10 years ago, it looks fine. 10 years is, okay, it's a pretty good length of time, but it's not like 100 years old like this is. So what the wheelwright here said was, okay, that would be fine for probably 10, 20 years, whatever. But he said the worst thing is, with it being dry stored a lot, so the vehicle's going to be in a shed probably 99% of the time. It's not like the vehicle would have been when it was new, when it was for probably 20 or 30 years, it was out in the weather. It was being driven and used daily, or if not daily, very regularly. And obviously when it was turned into a farm truck, it was used all the time. So those wooden wheels survived, but like 100 years, almost. But he said if you clear coat them, he said what will happen is probably fine for 20 years, sort of type thing. But he said what they eventually do is it will suck all the moisture out of those wooden wheels, the spokes, and he said they will dry rot and break. So you might get somebody 30 years later, who maybe in the family, takes the old vehicle out for a run, if we're still allowed to drive the bloody things around in 30 years' time. You know, and he might turn into a corner and that wheel will snap, you see, because it has got so dry, and the wood will rot, dry rot. You know, it will become so brittle and dry because it can't gather any moisture to keep the fibres supple, if you know what I mean. So you see that what will happen with clear coating them. So like he's done probably every wheel on any classic vintage vehicle, truck, horse-drawn cart, you name it, down here for probably the last 40 years. Yeah, that was his recommendation, and it's quite funny. This area, apparently, I heard it last week because we had a big massive charity car run come through here the other weekend. I didn't realise it was on until I seen them drive past home, and I was like, where are all these fucking cars coming from? I didn't realise for a start off, but a young fella said, oh man, where were these cars coming from? Must be a car run on, Dad. And it wasn't until after I did a wee bit of research, found out that this charity car run was on. And one of the big radio stations that broadcast around New Zealand had come down to give away a vehicle and be part of this run. But yeah, they were saying that Southland, for the population of Invercargill, which is about 60,000 people, there's over 5,000 registered classic vehicles on the road here. And that was just within the city. Well, I presume within the city, or maybe the whole area. So there's a bit more than that, but there's about 60,000 people in Invercargill, and there's a bit obviously more outside of Invercargill. But yeah, that's just registered ones, and there's obviously more than that being worked on and built. So yeah, apparently for the population, we've got the highest count of classic vehicles anywhere in the world, believe it or not. So yeah, so I kind of tend to would go with him. I would say like it would probably never affect it. You know, this stuff probably within my lifetime or even the owner's lifetime, but maybe 30 years down the track, if this is being dry stored all the time and can't get out in the moisture occasionally to get that moisture past the clear coat, he said the wheels will probably dry rot and snap, or these will probably dry rot and break. So yeah, it's one of those. I was going to clear coat them. You know, that was one of my thoughts when we were originally building this. I said, we'll just clear coat them. You know, that'll seal them all up, and it'll be nice and resistant to the water. You know, they're not going to gather a heap of water and happen to fall apart or something like that. You know, because the moisture gets in between the layers. But he said, yeah, just linseed oil them or something like that, so the moisture can still get in, but it's sealed up enough that it's not going to soak it up in a hurry, if you know what I mean. So that's kind of why I'm using the PVA. But yeah, like John did say, you know, just linseed oil them and clear coat them, because his wheelwright said so. You know, that's fine, but yeah, I don't know about the extreme longevity of it. I think that this guy's probably right. You know, it's not the first 10 or 20 years or even 25 years, it's the 30 or 40 years after that, where if somebody happens to take that vehicle out, then it's only been driven 3 or 4 times a year ever since it's restored. One day, and if it has, that water's really completely dried out and it starts dry rotting just from sitting, and all of a sudden you go to turn a corner and a wheel breaks off. Well, that's probably why, because it's been clear coated and fully sealed, and there's just no moisture can get into it. At least where if it's like this, it can gather moisture that's in the air to keep reasonably supple. So yeah, that's why I'm not going to clear cut them. Anyway, we'll carry on. I'll get this another layer on this, and yeah, I'll strip that drill shell down as well while I'm here, and I'll try and touch up the ends of these stuff. And that'll probably be, well, it probably won't be me for the day, but that'll be a reasonable chunk of this morning anyway. Right, so I've dragged all these bumpers out because I am quite confused. I've looked at photos and I've seen them all on different variations and makes and models. I think this might be off the Big 6. I'm not sure. I need to go home and have a decent look at a decent sized screen, like some computer screen, where I'm not looking at a, you know, like a 6-inch screen. I'm looking at a, whatever it is, 24, 27-inch screen. I think that's definitely Studebaker too, but I don't know if it's the right thing. And that could be too, but because that one there is different to that one, but it's a similar style. But yeah, I don't know, and it's to work out how these mounted. It looks like they might have bolted through here, but there's no holes through here on the side. I don't know if this thing ever had them. You know, because that's all, well, it could have something on here, I suppose, to bolt something on, but I think the front guard comes right in here, so I don't know if it had anything on the front. This spot Marko, because like this is a collection of stuff. Like it's, you know, actually, let's have a go look at this other car, because it's got nothing on the front of it either. I just wonder if it's ever had anything on it. Let's have a look. Try and get a close look, if you know what I mean. It's hard to tell because that fucking light's so bright. But to me, it doesn't look like it's ever had anything on it either. Maybe could have bolted on the sides there, because those guards do sit up a little bit, like they've been beaten to shit. But they could have bolted through the sides. But yeah, I don't know. As much as one of them would be probably quite nice in the front, there's photos with them out and with them, and either looks fine, if you know what I mean. And I think if it was going to be either or any of them, it would probably be that one, because that's the only one that's sort of complete. I guess, you know, you could make that one fit. I'll sit the phone on the tripod, hold on. While before I put the phone, I've been spraying this. I've just rattle canned this. I etched it and then I've painted it black. I flipped it over and I've just put a wee bit of etch in there. Frick, the weather's shit today, it's fucking cold. I've put more coats on that, and I've stripped that grill shell down and took all everything out of it, obviously, because the radiator's sitting there. So yeah, I took all the bolts out. I've taken all the little brackets and everything off. I'll take all the bits up there and just have a yarn to them and see what they want to do, because that is obviously meant to be attached, and that is meant to be attached permanently. But we had to unpick it all. You can see where all that shit's fallen off. Like, if it's like that on the inside, it's going to be like that on the outside, so that's why we're going to get it done again. So they may be able to re-rivet that stuff on, I don't know. I'll talk to them and see what they want to do. As I said, we might bolt that on, but we might be able to rivet that back on. But I'll put the front on the tripod and we'll come back to you in a minute. Right, so I'll hold a couple of these up here as well. Just one anyway. Something like that. Just trying to read what that says. So yeah, that would have sat there something like that, I guess. So yeah, we'll need some sort of bracket for you to drop it on. I'm guessing it possibly would have picked up through here somewhere. Oh, that was. But I had a bolt through the front of this, and it's never had a hole drilled in there. So yeah, I don't know, you know what I mean? I think this one's got bits missing. Yeah, this is by Country Mile. To the centre. So, but you could make something to make it fit. But I don't know. But these are all like front arms to me. Because the back ones are just little short. They're just little short ones that come around the back. You know what I mean? Like they just, because the spare wheel sits there. So they're just little bumperette sort of type things. Quarter things. I better throw a few photos up and I'll edit. So yeah, I'm not sure whether to put a bumper on the bastard or not. What we've got the 3, and if we are going to get one on the chrome, we'll at least need to kind of decide. But yeah, I don't know. Could send up, get it chromed, and then come back and just make something to put it on. But I don't know. You know what I mean? And I haven't done any work with them, so in some ways, like, there's plenty of photos of them around with nothing. So you may as well just run it with nothing. I don't know. Or decide later on, you know. Can always put one on it later on. But yeah, it's kind of where we're at. I'm just about half tempted to freaking go home. It's so fucking cold. So I run out of diesel again. We had to put half a tank up the other day and I've used it. Went to start it up this morning and it died on me. I'd like to just put a wee bit of black on this before we go, but which I probably can. So I might do that, but yeah, man, it's crap weather. Anyway, we might. So yeah, anyway, we might catch this later on. I'll put a coat of black around the top of this, or around the back side of this, and yeah, I might call it a day, I think. So yeah, I've done a coat either side of that stuff, muck around with that grill shell and this. Yeah, that's pretty much what I've done this morning. Just been sorting these last few pieces out. I want to put a wee dab of paint on these too, but I might wait till Monday. So if we can get some heat in here, and I'll do that with the proper paint. So that's kind of what I've been doing. Just sorting these bits and pieces out and just having a wee think about these bumpers, trying to decide what we're going to do with them. I think this one here is too small, but I think it's possibly, we almost need to get it together, get the fenders on it, get the wheels on it, get it down on the ground, get everything on it, and then if we are going to put one on, hold it up in front and see if it looks too big. They might be too wide, they might be off the big 6s, so they're a bigger car, bigger, wider, longer, higher car, so they might all look funny. It might be meant to be that one there, but you know, the ones I've seen of that, they still wrap right round the back and finish up with it, so it's like that one's, it could be a Studebaker bumper, but it could be off like an early one. I don't know, like pre-20s sort of type thing, or 21 or 22 or something. I don't know. Anyway, we'll carry on. We'll catch you later on. Cheers.